Joan Quinn Profiles. As an editor for Andy Warhol's Interview, the Los Angeles Herald-Examiner, LA Style, and Detour magazines, Joan covered the social set, the Hollywood hotshots, the international art scene, the mysteries of food, the excitement of travel, and the fabulous world of fashion. Joan continues to find creative people on the cutting edge who make things happen. Here's Joan Quinn.
Hi, I'm Joan Quinn, and welcome to the Joan Quinn Profiles. Waiting to be profiled are actor Lenny Jacobson and writer-director Paul Hoan Zeidler. He's from Sewer Socialist Productions, so we'll see what Paul has to say. Actor Lenny Jacobson was born and raised in Massachusetts. You've seen him on the big screen in Celeste and Jessie Forever and Harry and Mr. Grey, and on the little screen in Law and Order and NCIS and Nurse Jackie, where he has a recurring role. And you've seen him on the stage at the moment with the Blank Theater's 20th anniversary Playwrights Festival, and he's also in a play on the main stage there, and we'll tell you all about that. But first, when you went to Roger Williams University in Rhode Island, were you planning to act?
No.
No, what were you going to do?
First, thank you for having me. How are you?
Thank you.
I actually, I had no aspirations of acting until I was in my late 20s.
Oh.
So when I went to college, it was basically one of the few that would take me.
I was going to say, that's why you stayed a year?
Yes, and it was away from home. And
not very far, though.
No, not far enough that my mom would lose it, but far enough away that I could get in enough trouble that she couldn't come immediately and pull me out.
Immediately in 5 minutes, right? Okay.
So I went there and I played basketball.
Oh,
it's like a Division III school, and I enjoyed that 1 year of college very much.
Oh, good. We're glad.
I had a good time. I drank a lot, and I did some studying, and then it was just too much money to go there and not have some idea of a future that I wanted to get out of it, which I didn't. No,
and then how did you
school.
know this future was coming? Were you doing commercials in Massachusetts? What were you doing?
Nothing. I was just working regular jobs, waiting tables and selling furniture, and then when I hit my mid-20s, I started feeling like I wanted to maybe do something, because I hadn't really found anything that particularly interested me. And then acting was kind of like just a random kind of, maybe I could try that. I had a couple friends who lived in New York, and he's like, and I've always been very, what's the word? Not shy,
Right.
outgoing, and I like to entertain my family, and I'm a little crazy, and so I thought about moving to New York, but then that kind of fell through.
Because I was going to say, that's right down the street from you in Massachusetts.
Yeah, it would have been a safer move.
Yeah, and you came to LA instead.
Well, the New York fell through, and then my stepfather had gone to a college. His roommate was a stand-up comedian, or eventually became a stand-up comedian writer, and had lived in Los Angeles for 20-something years.
So you had a connection.
Yeah, Rich Scheidner. And they saw each other at a reunion, and he said, Lenny is kind of maybe interested in acting. And Rich was like, well, have him come to LA and check it out. So I went and visited, and I really just liked it here.
So was there a job for you when you came here?
No.
There really wasn't?
I didn't come here necessarily for the acting. I came because I just wanted to move, and I enjoyed the environment, the weather and and just the atmosphere of it.
So then how did the turning point come about?
Well, I came out, and I asked Rich, I said, what do I need to do? And he's like, well, get a job. So I got a job. I got a job waiting tables at the
Typical
Cheesecake
actor.
Factory.
Oh, good.
And then I took an improv class, like a small one though. He's like, you could do Groundlings or UCB.
Did he tell you that he kind of advised you on what to do?
He gave me a few
Tips?
opinions of what he thought might work. He was not really. He was an actor himself, but more of a writer stand-up.
I see.
And then I just started to meet people and try to find out what worked. What was the best way to do. Get headshots and then try to get a commercial agent.
But this is really good for the audience to know, because a lot of people don't know how you start. And headshots, who thinks that headshots is one of the first things?
Yeah, I had people kind of give me the basic, they're like, don't spend a ton of money, but get headshots. And do a mailing, and then start doing improv or sketch or acting classes. You know, you have to start, because not only are you learning, but you're also meeting people.
That's the key,
that
isn't
will
it?
eventually help you possibly move on to further things in your career.
We hear that all the time. I went to UCLA, and I met this guy in my drama class, and then he turned out to be the writer, the director.
And actually, what happens when I was at Cheesecake Factory, I met some friends that I'm still friends with today, 11 years later, and we ended up doing a lot of sketch comedy together, and that's really when my acting, I felt like I started to understand it. Because even though it's sketch comedy, you still have to play it. You know, some stuff is serious, some stuff is big, small, and you get timing, and you learn how to do scenes with others. You learn how to improvise a little bit, because we were writing this stuff, but you never know what's going to happen on
Exactly,
stage.
yeah, the improv is great for you.
And so that helped with the rest.
So then, when did the commercials come in?
The commercials, like I booked a couple non-union things and nothing really great, and I actually was about 4 years into living here, maybe, and I had done, you know, a lot of sketch comedy and some commercials, and I wasn't SAG yet, and then I was still waiting tables, and I was really like done. You know, not many years, but I was just exhausted from waiting tables, and then I booked a Bud Light campaign, which was 6 spots. I didn't have the main part, but I was in it. So that was going to be some good money. It got me my SAG card, they Taft-Hartley and all that.
Great.
And so I quit waiting tables immediately, because it was near Thanksgiving. They're like, what if you don't even make any money on it? I'm like, I don't care, I'm done. And shot those commercials, and that's, I mean, I made some really good money off of it. And then you kind of, it's like you book one, you get your SAG eligibility, and then you kind of get a little roll going.
You know, you went to all this Catholic school. You had all this Catholic school education.
I did.
Did that help you when you were in the EMT character?
No.
It didn't help you. You weren't compassionate.
Oh, well, are Catholics really all that compassionate?
I don't know,
they
asking.
are. No, I grew up going to a Catholic, my grandparents are going to be real unhappy I just said that. I grew up going to Catholic schools, but as I don't really practice it that much anymore.
But I just wondered if those things, if you had to draw on those things to be sympathetic.
No, because the EMT I play is kind of, he's done it before, he's seen it all, he's a little bit laid back about it. I actually did go out and train with 2 real EMTs in New York.
That's how you did it.
And they just showed me some basic things like taking pulse and checking the airways, and we drove around in the ambulance a little bit and played with the sirens. And but I mean, when I bring on the show, because our show is Nurse Jackie and it's not like a doctor show, there aren't a lot of procedures like on Grey's Anatomy where they're cutting people open. We don't cut anybody open. We have enough trouble putting their blood pressure things on set. We have one nurse who helps us out, and we're awful. Awful at it. We couldn't save anybody.
But you love the role.
Oh yes, it's been such a blessing, because it started off very small. I was just basically, you know, a couple lines in the first episode, second episode, and I didn't come back until the end. And then the writers and producers had an idea of making me a recurring character, who they called Lenny.
I know, they call you Lenny.
Yeah, because they kind of just were like, we like the EMT who kind of shows up, and he's a little scruffy and laid back, and then they were going to have it be where it would be possibly a love interest with...
Oh, so you have a long future there.
Well, yeah, I mean, it's the 4th season, so I'm still there.
So that's pretty good. And you're also a Sal character. Sal is your name?
Oh, the play I'm doing now is for the Blank Theater. It's at the 2nd stage over on Santa Monica Boulevard, and it's called Suki and Sue, Their Story. And my character's name is Sal.
Right.
And he's kind of a pot-smoking, laid-back, kind of like Lenny on Nurse Jackie, except for I think he does a lot more drugs.
He does a lot more drugs?
Probably, yeah. Because there's a little hint that Lenny does some extracurricular drug activity, but not too bad.
And so who are the main characters?
It's Suki and Sue, who are played by Ray Foster and Lindsay Broad. And they're 2 nurses who live together, and I'm the boyfriend of Suki. And Sue's mother gives her a Raggedy Ann doll for her birthday.
Oh, right.
And stuff starts to occur.
She's really weird, that Raggedy Ann doll.
Something happens with it's being possessed, and we bring in a woman to do a kind of a seance who's played by Mackenzie Phillips. Who is
she great?
Oh my goodness, I love her. She's so great. And so that's how it kind of goes about. And it's a true story.
It is a true story.
If you Google possessed Raggedy Ann doll, it's a story from Buffalo where this Raggedy Ann doll with the 2 real nurses, and the names are all different, but that's the one. And it's actually locked away in a big case.
Where did the doll come from? Do you ever have it on stage?
Oh yeah, we use the doll on stage all the time. We have, technically we have 6 of them. I don't know if that's giving it away, but because it has to move, and we keep moving it quickly.
And besides that, you're doing this Youth Playwright Festival. Have you done it before?
Young Playwrights Festival.
Yeah,
that's how I got involved with the Blank Theater. I met Daniel Henning probably 7 years ago. He was my teacher. And then I ended up doing a very small part in a Young Playwrights Festival then.
And tell us what it is. It's so many students.
Basically, what they do is this will be their 21st year.
Yeah.
And they send out, invitations, and people, kids 19 and under or 18 and under, write plays and submit them, and they get like 200 or 300 from all over the country.
Amazing, yeah.
And then they break them down to 60, and then 40, and then 12, and those are considered the winners. And they are given a mentor and a director.
And what do you play? So you're a mentor to someone?
No. I'm just acting in the play.
Oh, you're just acting. So
they're
then they work?
They're given a mentor and a director. And the mentor, they kind of work up the script a little bit, but it is their writing.
Oh, I see.
And then the weekend, 4 weekends in June, there's 3 plays each weekend, and they get actors to play the parts and a director.
Which is fantastic. Barbara Bain is coming in. Who else is coming in?
Well, they're doing a benefit on June 3rd at the Avalon, and they have I think Jennifer Garner is like the
she's introducing
chairwoman.
Yeah.
But it's like Ed Asner, Barbara Bain, Noah Wiley. It's his theater.
Oh, that's it. And it's Estelle, and when you do your
Virginia Madsen.
Yeah, when you do your reading, it's at the Stella Adler Theater. Is that where they do it?
We put up a full.
Oh, it's a
full show. It's not a reading.
Oh, it's not a reading.
We rehearse for 2 weeks.
Oh, wow.
And then the writer comes in, and we get to meet him. Like they come in or him or her. The writer of mine is 16 years old, and she's from New York. So for her weekend, they'll fly her out. Her parents will come usually.
Such a great
She'll
program.
get to see her play, and then she gets a plaque, and 100 people for each night of the show. They get brought up on stage, and accolades and applause, and
that's fantastic, isn't it?
It's wonderful.
It's such a good thing. And who runs it?
The Blank, Daniel Henning and Noah Wiley.
I see. Do they also participate?
Daniel will direct a lot. Noah was actually in the first year of it. He was in the first one, and he's done some since then. And a wide range of actors. I can't even think of them all right now. But it's really crazy. Like I did it a couple years ago, and this girl wrote a play that she put up at her school, and it was played by all her friends. And then she comes to Hollywood, and she gets these actors to do it who are the right age, and they put up a really nice set in the Stella Adler Theater, and she gets to watch it and then get this applause at the end. And Daniel brings all the writers up, and they get these certificates that, of doing it. And so they have multiple winners, and they have people that have moved on to do many more things since then. Yeah.
I'm so glad you came and told us about it, because I think it's such a good program. And
it's
also,
great.
we like to see you on TV too.
Yeah, Nurse Jackie's on Showtime Sundays at 9 p.m. I don't know. It's all different.
It's always different, but as soon as we see your face, we know.
Yes.
Thanks, Lenny.
Thank you very much.
And don't go away. We'll be right back with director Paul Hoan Zeidler. Hi, I'm Joan Quinn, and welcome back to the Joan Quinn Profiles. I'm here with writer-director Paul Hoan Zeidler, who was born and raised in Milwaukee, and he went to the university there. Then he came to Los Angeles and did his graduate studies at USC, where he studied with Hubert Selby Jr., John Retchie and Jerome Lawrence, among all the other fantastic faculty at SC, because that's where I went to school too. Paul's award-winning work has been seen on stages from Los Angeles to New York. He's the founder and director of Sewer Socialist Productions. Sewer Socialist Productions. It's hard to say. Where did that name come from?
Well, because I'm from Milwaukee, and people usually remember that there were socialist mayors in Milwaukee. And they were kind of denigrated by the rest of the socialists in the country who never really held elective office as sewer socialists, because they were more interested in building a city, making a city run, and all that. And for me, the joke was, well, we really do something that people only theorize about.
So that was it. So there actually was that title somewhere.
Yeah, but they didn't put on a theater company.
No. Well, what does your theater company, what are the goals? Because I think it's fantastic, and it must be very difficult.
Well, we don't want to do something that you've already seen before.
So you have to tell a new story.
We tell a new story, put new characters on stage that no one has ever seen before.
How can you do that?
You have to push yourself really, really hard and just go through a lot of conventional ideas that you've already had before. And hopefully you've had something happen to you that you really have never seen.
I see.
You know.
So that's who you put, and then you explore the conflicts of...
Right. Mostly it starts with a script that I write. The thing is, in a lot of drama that people see on television, there's a kind of narrow spectrum of what was going to sell. And what I love about doing theater is that spectrum is just so much wider. One of the reasons I think there's so many really good Asian playwrights right now, because there isn't a big enough Asian population for film and television to really make money on, but there's a lot like East-West Players and David
to go on
Wang.
stage, David Wang.
Yeah, they can have a tremendous impact in
Well,
American theater.
When you were going to SC and when you were in grad school, you took class from Mr. Selby, who was a guest on my show. I was thrilled to have him on because he's such a talent.
Yeah.
Tell us a little bit about the class that you took with him, or what was it, graduate classes? So
Graduate
you used
classes,
to sit around?
and he was my thesis advisor on my novel, and I think I was his last person before he retired. So, yeah, Cubby was just this really cool guy who had gone through a lot of really painful medical problems. And
yes, he was very...
And he had like one half of one lung left, and he'd been in Germany, and they had totally messed him up with a tuberculosis operation. And the way he said cool, it was like someone telling their lover, I love you for the first time.
But do you think that accent could be translated onto the paper for his work? Last Exit?
There are some people in there who are talking that Brooklyn accent, yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
So that was part of it. You also worked with John Retchie.
Yeah, John was very glamorous. He was very much...
Was he tough?
Tough on you, yeah. And he had us read some more difficult pieces like Ulysses and other novels. And I think that was good because it caught you thinking outside of the usual forms that you usually write in.
I know there was a big faculty, but Jerome Lawrence, I think, has followed you through your career since then. So what was he doing?
He was teaching theater and playwriting at USC at the time.
I see.
And we mostly met at his apartment over in West Hollywood, and he is really beautiful Malibu home that had all these beautiful artifacts from his theater career on Broadway had burned in the '94 fire. And so he was like, he had managed to save some things. And it was kind of, you went in there and it was like this little museum of, like, Angela Lansbury had signed this poster on his wall. And he did teach me the 11th commandment. That was his line, thou shalt not commit television on a theater stage.
TV on a theater stage, and what does that really mean?
I think you have to look for the news story in theater. I mean, people are...
It's not, I mean, people are used to watching TV, and it's
Right.
something just simple over and over and over. Is that the idea, that he didn't want you to do that?
Right. And that you can't... I think TV sometimes is just a little bit comfortable for you, where theater, I think you're making an effort to come there to see something, and that you have to make the effort as a producer, writer, director, actor, to show them something different when they come to the theater.
Does that happen in Acts of Passion?
Acts of possession, yes.
Of possession, I'm sorry.
Yes, I think.
Passion and possession.
Yeah, I think
Acts
so.
of possession.
It's kind of a different story.
Tell the story of that.
It's about a struggling artist and his wife, and the wife goes to the coolest gallery in town and gets the gallery owner to come over to see his paintings. And the gallery owner looks at all of them and kind of like isn't very impressed, but then before he leaves tells him, I can sell all these paintings for $10,000 a piece if you smear them with your own excrement.
Oh, so that's a new character we haven't seen, right?
Well, we're trying to push the envelope more there on what's art and what isn't, and it's really the parody of art, because so many artists have used excrement.
Exactly.
That when you finally have one who wants to be real and paint other things, he has to go and do it.
He has to follow suit.
Yeah.
Tell me about Glenny and, what is it, Glenny and Maple breakup?
Yeah, Glenny and Maple breakup will premiere at the Hollywood Fringe, and at the Elephant Stages Theater Asylum. We're going to be in 2 different places in the same building. On
Yeah, it's
June
a great
14th.
complex on
Right.
Santa Monica Boulevard.
Santa Monica and Lillian, and Brighton Theater Row there.
So tell me about it.
Well,
Why did you write it?
I wrote it. I don't really, because it was an older piece that I wrote 6 years ago, and I think it was just because the characters interested me. That there was one character who was recovering from an abusive relationship, and that a guy who was interested in her, but his flaw was being too supportive. But she would need him for a while, obviously, and so how much farther this could go before they broke up and things like that. And a friend of mine had done a very good job reading it, and recently she passed away. And after her memorial service, I had kind of left the piece behind because it wasn't really long enough to be a full-length play. You couldn't really,
Yeah, you said it was short.
It's 45 minutes. You couldn't really rent a theater for the whole night.
I see.
And put it in a 6-week run with it because it just wasn't long enough.
Yeah, well, tell us about that. That's interesting. You have to have a play that's a certain length, or you do these one acts, I guess.
Right. If there was we never really met someone we could pair it up with. So.
Oh, so that would be the other thing, right?
Right. And I got involved with another project that eventually had 2 productions here, and then we took it to New York. And then I hadn't really thought about it for a while, and then until after she had passed away, and I wanted to kind of hear her voice in my head one more time. And I went back and read the piece, and I realized, oh, wow, this would be a great Fringe show. And of course, when I wrote it 6 years ago, there was no Fringe Festival here in Los Angeles.
Let's talk about that. So that'll be opening.
And June 14th.
That's the one that's opening. But let's talk about Fringe Festival. What is a Fringe Festival?
The really big Fringe Festival is the New York Fringe Festival, where we had a play about 3 years ago. That started because in August so many theaters were empty, and it was a way for theaters to have a rental, and you could have all these other talent come in from out of town and some from in town. And it's really a fantastic experience.
Does it mean fringe? What does it mean? To me, it keeps like you're not in the mainstream. Nobody wants to see your work, or it's too bizarre to be put on the stage.
That I think is partly true. Yeah, I mean, there's clown shows and there's children's shows, and I think everything, and shows that wouldn't necessarily fit, or you really couldn't produce in a full-length production for a 6-week run, but would do just fine in a limited run because of the size.
Did it start in Europe?
Well, yeah, I mean, probably at the Edinburgh Fringe.
Yeah.
That's been going, I think, since the 50s.
Forever.
Yeah.
Well, that's why. And then do we have a Fringe Festival in California?
Well, the Hollywood Fringe started 3 years ago.
It started 3, I see.
And we didn't have a show the first year, but we have had one last year.
And do they choose you, or do you just find the venue? What do you do?
We find the venue and register with them.
I see.
New York Fringe is different. That's a selection process. It's kind of like Sundance.
Do you apply, you send your work in, and then they have a jury?
Yeah, in New York. But here, if you just get a venue, you get a theater, or a coffee house, or a warehouse or something, whoever will put you up, and then you pay your Fringe fee, and then you're kind of like in the process.
That's fantastic. Now, go back to Glenny and Maple. How'd you cast it? Did you cast it as the writer, director?
Right. I mean, my partner Charlie Pacello was already cast as Maple because I knew that the role was right in his strike zone. Charlie grew up in a blue-collar neighborhood, and Maple's a blue-collar character, and Charlie's just great with it. So we had, Charlie and I, we kind of are also members of the Elephant Theater Company, and we wanted to keep, use an elephant actress if that was possible, because Gia, the actress who originally read it 6 years ago, she was also a member of the Elephant Company.
Oh, she was. That's a great complex down there. I go there quite a bit. Yeah. So then how'd you cast her role?
So we narrowed it down to about 6 or 7 actresses that we wanted to have read, and we brought them in to read with Charlie, and Etienne Eckhart was the one.
And tell us about her.
She actually organized the memorial service for Gia.
Did she know her?
Oh, yeah, she knew her very well. In fact, she knew her better than I did.
Oh, she knew her, and she's taking her play.
Well,
I mean, kind of like taking the role of her friend.
Right. She and I talked about it before the first rehearsal. And Gia had already moved back to New York City before she passed away. So it wasn't as though Gia would be in the production.
No. But it was just the idea. Was it weird, or was it like?
It hasn't been weird yet. And
or celebratory too. It could be celebratory.
I think it's heading in that direction because we tend to feel real good after rehearsals. But I think we're going to find out more. The direction emotionally the three of us are going after opening night, after the panic, the recriminations, the despair, and maybe the first couple of reviews roll in. We'll see what happens after that.
Now, just before we leave, tell us a little bit about Jerome Lawrence Quintet. We mentioned Jerome Lawrence before. He was a teacher of yours. He wrote Gone with the Wind? He co-wrote it?
No, he Inherit the Wind.
Gone with the Wind. Boy, I was wondering how he was still living. Inherit the Wind.
Yeah.
Still living.
And it was it was 4 or 5 playwrights we had met in his.
So quintet.
Yeah,
5, right?
5 of us. 5 of us had to be 5. Thank you so much. It had to be 5. Yeah.
From Inherit the Wind to
I think when we first put on the show, and it was all the short plays that we had done in. We had written in his workshop, and we had put them on I think at the Bing Theater at USC. And someone at the Morgan Wixon down over here in Santa Monica saw the show and helped us produce a full run of it.
That's fantastic. So it was actually 5 writers.
Right. But then we broke up right after. So we didn't last for very long.
Well, what are you working on now?
Basically, Glennie and Maple, we're halfway through rehearsals. I think it's been going really well. We have a lot of flow, and I'm excited to see what's going to happen.
Another play? Is there
another
play?
I've got two other plays. One's like a really violent sort of in-your-face thing called Woof Woof. And then another one I'm still working on. I don't know if I got the second act yet. And it's a play that combines like an onstage band with the drama going on, and that's called Bounce Like You Want It.
Somebody come in and advise you?
Yeah,
or you know yourself?
If Sewer Socials is putting on, Charlie and I talk about it a lot, about what we're going to do. We also want to put on a version of Hamlet.
So totally different.
Yes, a version of Hamlet set during the American Revolution.
Fantastic.
So, yeah.
Well, we'll keep looking for you.
Well, thank you so much.
And it was good to see you. We were sitting next to each other at a play recently.
Right, and we can't remember which one.
I think it was at the Lounge, but so.
Was it Days of Wine and Roses?
No, it wasn't.
Okay.
We'll just keep thinking. Thanks for coming.
Well, thank you for having me.
And you keep writing to JAQUINN1@AOL.com or 777 South Figueroa, 44th floor, Los Angeles 90017. See you next time on the Joan Quinn Profiles.